Shayla, recognize a guest. Do you want to recognize the guest? Is this a guest? You want to recognize before or after? Hey, I'm super. Now I lost my pencil. Did you take it? No. Eh, it's a maybe. A maybe. Depends on the conversations that get sparked. We do have some suggestions for holdover till December. Mm-hmm. Bert. Good afternoon. Welcome to the November 20th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting for the City of Mobile. I'd like to take a moment to review our general operating procedures. This meeting is divided into two sessions, public hearing and deliberation. In our public hearing sessions, an agenda item is called. The applicant makes their presentation. Commission members ask questions, if any. Members of the public make their comments to the commission. Only 4 people may speak for an agenda item and 4 people against. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes, subject to questions by the commission. At 1 minute, a speaker will hear a warning beep prompting you to summarize your comments. After opposition speakers have finished, an applicant will be allowed a 2-minute rebuttal. If you do intend to speak, we invite you to come to the bottom of the stairs, speak into the microphone in the podium, and provide your name and your address for the record. Direct all your comments to this commission only and not to the applicant, the staff, or the audience. After hearing all applications, the commission will then go into deliberation where we will discuss each application with input from the staff as necessary, but with no input from the audience. The commissioners will then vote on each application, and the results of that voting can be learned from the planning department. If some issues arise during deliberation session that were not addressed in public hearing, we have the discretion to allow additional comments pertaining to those issues in order to resolve them, or call for the application to be held over for discussion at a future meeting. Occasionally, a commissioner may recuse themselves from discussing and voting on a given application. That doesn't mean they're directly involved with the application or the applicant, but depending on the circumstances, ethical rules may require the recusal, even if there's only the slightest appearance of a conflict of interest. If a regular member recuses, a supernumerary will be voting in their stead. A reminder, the Planning Commission makes final decisions on subdivisions with appeals of these decisions to the Circuit Court. The Planning Commission is strictly a recommending body for rezonings, conditional use permits, and planned developments. The City Council makes the final decision on these applications, and all appeals of City Council decisions are to the Circuit Court. At this time, if you would do me a favor and turn your cell phones and electronic devices to the silent or the vibrate position. Commissioners and staff, please turn on your microphones when speaking. I'll go ahead and call the roll. Myself, Jay Stubbs, present. Mr. Kirk Matei, Miss Jennifer Denson, Mr. Harry Brislin,
Here.
Mr. Larry Dorsey, Mr. Chad Anderson,
Here.
Mr. Matt Anderson, Mr. Nick Amberger,
Here.
Mr. Josh Woods,
Here.
Mr. Kenny Nichols, Miss Ellie Edwards.
Here.
We do have a quorum for today's agenda, November 20th, and I will move to approve the agenda. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Before we jump into the agenda, I'd like to welcome our intern from the Planning Department here today with Ms. Shayla Biko. We have Mr. Alan Lee, who is a first-year student at Bishop State. Welcome, Mr. Lee. Hope you learn a lot. Number one is a holdover on the agenda, 4595 Commerce Boulevard South and 6137 Todd Acres Drive, Todd Acres Industrial Park subdivision, 5 lots, 241 and some odd acres. We have 7 conditions on this holdover application. Is the applicant present? The applicant's present with a raise of hand. Are you in agreement with the 7 listed conditions? Thumbs up? You shake. Okay, we've got a thumbs up and a shaking, nodding of the head. I will ask on this particular application if there's any questions or comments from commissioners for the applicant.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Last month, I brought up I guess there was kind of limited information when it came to traffic. I know there allegedly was a traffic study working in conjunction with AlDOT. At the end of my conversation last month, I guess the question was, what's going to happen at Todd Acres Drive and Rangeline Road intersection? I was just wanted to ask the applicant if that's something that they dealt with over the past month.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. We'll invite the applicant to answer that. Name and address for the record.
Charles Tischer, 3901 Spring Hill Avenue. So in the past month, we did have a meeting with Traffic Department and Engineering Department discussing the current traffic study that's there. And I know that, speaking from the engineers that they have doing the design on everything, they're going to work moving forward on the Rangeline intersection, on the Coyman Road intersection, and whatever else is included in that traffic report is my understanding of it. And that'll all really be done during the land disturbance permit. When they go file for a permit to start doing work, one of the reviews is going to be from the traffic department. So that's when any recommendations from that detailed traffic report, they'll have to, at a point where they hit where it needs the upgrades, they'll move forward with it, and that'll be at the discretion, I believe, of the traffic department and AlDOT. And I know there was talk, they've started talking to AlDOT as well about all this.
Gotcha. Okay. So to your knowledge, so no traffic improvements or discussions of traffic improvements along Rangeline and Todd Acres has occurred, I guess.
They're going to happen for sure.
Let me help to address
Yeah.
that. So yeah, there are ongoing conversations between the city, AlDOT, and the developer. With traffic signals like this, fortunately, some of a little bit of that's going to be out of the developer's control. I mean, obviously for materials coming in, but a traffic signal is part of the development that will be required to be built there. Improvements of the intersection, and then also some other stuff along the service road. We're likely going to be in a scenario where the developer is going to want us to sign the plat prior to that being done. We've had some internal discussions around that, and we believe that that's acceptable, just due to the nature of that signal's got an AlDOT permitting component to it. It's got a couple of different funding components to it. So we'll be working very closely with the developer and making sure their financial commitment is there to orchestrate that, along with some hopeful AlDOT financial participation and some likely city financial participation.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Tischer. Any further questions or comments from commissioners? All right, seeing none, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience that is here to have questions towards, speak for, or speak against agenda item number 1 at 4595 Commerce Boulevard South and 6137 Todd Acres Drive. All right, seeing none, we will move on to number 2 on the agenda item. It too is a holdover from last month's October 16th meeting. My notes show that this is potentially another request for a holdover. Is the applicant present? All right, seeing none, I will speak from the notes from this. The applicant has since reached out to advise staff, and due to their design professional being out of town, they will not have revised information available for today's meeting, November 20th, and the application would like to be requested to be held over to December 18th meeting. Should be noted to commissioners that Section 10C3 of our regulations allow a request of only one holdover. Therefore, when we get to deliberation, we will discuss that. I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience that is here to speak for or against or have questions towards agenda item number 2, the cottages at Spring Hill Subdivision, 5070 Old Shell Road. All right, seeing none, let's move on. The rest of the agenda items are new applications. The first one is number 3 on the agenda. This is a subdivision at 5906 US Highway 90 West, extending to the north terminus of Kirk Road. This is a subdivision of one lot at just under 5 acres. Has been requested for a holdover until December 18th, with revisions submitted no later than December 5th. Is the applicant present? Are you in agreement with that? The applicant is present and in agreement. I will ask if there's anyone else in the audience that is here, since it's on the agenda, but it's potentially held over till next month. Is there anyone that would like to speak for this, against it, or have questions toward this agenda item on Highway 90 West? All right, seeing none, we will move on. Number 4, this is a subdivision at 1608 Crestwood Drive, Crestwood B subdivision. This is 2 lots at just over an acre. There are 9 conditions listed. Is the applicant present? The applicant is present. Raise of hand in the back. Are you in agreement with the 9 listed conditions? I have a nod of a head and a raise of a hand. I'll ask if there's any comments or questions from commissioners on this application. Seeing none, I will now ask if there's anyone in the audience that has comments about or for, against, or just questions about this application at 1608 Crestwood Drive. Seeing none, number 5 on the agenda. This is a subdivision at 1615 and 1622 Mackey Avenue, the Kaufman Turner subdivision of 2 lots at 1.81 acres. Is the applicant present? The applicant is present with a raise of a hand. There are 9 listed conditions. Are you in agreement with those, inclusive of the waiver of 6C3 for width to depth ratio? Shake of a head yes for those agreements. Is there anyone else in the audience that is here to speak for, speak against, or have questions towards this agenda item at Mackey Avenue? Yes, sir. You have questions for it? Please come on down and address the commission so we can hear it in the microphone, and thank you for that. And a reminder that we'll take your name, address for the record, sir. It was already on. It's already, red light means on.
I'm James Kaufman Jr. I'm the owner of the property. The cul-de-sac in question there, upon purchasing that, the gentleman that I'm doing the merge with, the property, the trade off there, upon purchasing that, he was wanting enough property there to put in a cul-de-sac. And whenever I purchased it, I agreed to give him that. And now what I'm doing, my plan is to break off a section of the foot of that property. The depiction on the screen is not accurate, but the way it's sectioned off there, I've given him enough for a cul-de-sac, and I see this on the paperwork here. The cul-de-sac won't have anything to do with me any farther after. It's kind of a wild drawing there because it depicts that road going through 100-year oak trees.
Whose drawing is it?
This is based off of the subdivision plat that was provided to us with the application.
Go ahead.
We're going to invite someone who can answer these questions. Mr. Kaufman, before he starts, do you have any further questions, or is this specific to the drawings, the cul-de-sac?
No, sir, I don't have any further questions. I just wanted to reiterate that that cul-de-sac would be taken out of his property, not the property that will be left over.
Dedicated.
All right.
Zeke Hudson, Row Engineering and Surveying. Currently, that is a private cul-de-sac. It's a turnaround, and I know that the city, for the re-subdivision process to happen, that will have to give some sort of a turnaround. Apparently, I misunderstood when we spoke earlier with my client that the cul-de-sac is there. I think the intent is for it to stay there.
Yes.
So we just have to give them right of way so that I don't think there's a caveat to develop at this time. Is that correct? We just need to give the right of way for it.
Yeah, this has been a long-standing issue, with the previous property owner, to where the cul-de-sac is there. I don't know how it physically came to be there, but it's not in right-of-way. So you're effectively, what you're doing is you're cleaning up the right-of-way or cleaning up the circumstance and putting it all in to right-of-way to where the city could actually maintain it. Right now, it's just a road that dead ends into a private cul-de-sac that in practice really has private ownership and private maintenance of it. So, I think with your surveyor cleaning it up there, it should be, if this drawing is correct, the road should be within, should be within the center of it. It's a survey that reflects, the built environment.
Well, maybe not, but they have to have a record that we're going to dedicate that. And so it's essentially not going to change. We just have to dedicate that on our plat.
It might be a scenario where y'all need to consider putting some pin flags out in the ground where he can see where these lines actually are and or would be, just for clarity purposes.
Okay.
Any other questions for me?
Any other comments or questions from commissioners on this particular situation? And then if not, I will now ask if there's anyone else, and thank you, Mr. Kaufman. I will now ask if there's anyone else in the audience that is here to speak for, speak against, or have questions towards this application on Mackey Avenue. All right, seeing none, we will move on to number 6 on the agenda. It's a subdivision at 250 Tut Hill Lane and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9 of Garden Trace. The Garden Trace subdivision. This is 9 lots at 13 1/3 acre.
Yes, I'm Casey Pipes, 150 Government Street, here for the applicant who had to be out of town. We do request a change to some of the conditions. The point here, the subdivision lots aren't changing. Every lot line's the same place it was before, road's in the same place it is now. We had a note on the original plat, note number 8, that said that sidewalks shall be built when individual lots are built out. And we're trying to remove that note from the plat because we can't apply for a sidewalk waiver while that note's on the plat. And so we were just trying to scratch that off the note. And since the recording of this plat in 2012, one of the easements shown on there has been vacated by Moz. So we wanted to add a note that easement's got, to see the other instrument that dealt with it. The conditions we want to remove, one of them was engineering comments that requires us to record a whole new plat. Just to do this, what we'd like to do is record the old plat again, re-record it with those 2 changes made, what we've submitted to staff. The surveyor, who I don't think is here, has lost the CAD file from 2012. And there's been some work done since then, but apparently they don't have it. And to recreate the plat is an expense that, is a lot for what we were trying to do, which seemed minor at the time. And so we'd like to be able just to re-record the Garden Trace plat from 2012, I think. It has these few edits made to it. And the traffic engineering comments are already on the original plat. The no access, because retention of the following notes from the original plat, they're already there. And so we really just wanted to avoid the expense and the time of getting somebody to go draw a new file for this.
Thank you, Mr. Pipes. I'll divert his question to staff to see if they are okay with Mr. Pipes' request.
On the surface, I would say no, only because I don't think you can re-record a plat. Who's going to sign it? Who's approving it? What, you have things on it that were done a number of years ago. So I'm not sure about the legality of re-recording a previously recorded plat that's been altered without any certifications and owner signatures, things like that. And that's a question for me because I'm an engineer, not a lawyer or a surveyor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know, I know there's at least one surveyor in the room. Perhaps we have a conversation with him after that, because I was kind of the opinion, Mr. Davis, once that plat has a change to it, it is a new plat. Once it gets recorded, it is a new plat if there's a change to it. Albeit, I think there is very, very minor things to it. I wouldn't see why your surveyor couldn't refer to the drawing that was recorded, the legal descriptions, and basically the meat of what is on that plat as the basis of him redrawing it. I mean, he'd probably have a standard of practice where you go out, maybe verify a few things in the field, but not full-blown resurveying it. I mean, the points that he put in the ground shouldn't have changed, but it would be a new drawing. It would be a new CAD drawing. I don't think there's any way around that.
Well, and another thing, if I may, we're changing a note, and it's sort of like changing recorded covenants. With y'all's permission, we can change the note to say the Garden Trace plat recorded in 2012 is amended to have these notes instead of the original notes.
Yeah.
And the drawings, we're not doing a new drawing. We're not re-recording the old drawing. It's just referring back to it. And we're getting rid of note number 8, which is the part of the
I
request.
think we're saying the same thing, but it's a new plat. It's just whether or not your surveyor feels whether or not he needs to go out in the field and resurvey those points, as opposed to referencing his document that, albeit it's got some age to it, is arguably the notes that, it's the paper version of the notes that he took in the field to establish those points of the individual lot. So I would kind of be of the opinion he doesn't have to go out there and resurvey it, but he needs to recreate that drawing that he previously did, because it's going to require a new signature. I think what you're saying is that y'all would like it to eliminate it or change a few things that have gone away, some easements.
I just wanted to note, I didn't want to record the plat with this easement that's since been vacated without noting, it's still shown on there, but without noting that there's a new instrument you might need to see to understand what's going on there.
Again, it's a new plat. I'm happy to have a conversation after this, with, the one surveyor here can stick around and perhaps y'all can go chat back there and see if he can give you a little bit of guidance from a surveyor's perspective, what is legally required. But I believe it's a new plat with new signatures, and it's going to look 99.9% the same as what it did before. It's just going to have a couple of other notes added to it, as you suggested there. And so we have a problem. We don't have a problem with that. We don't have a problem with signing that. But I think it is a new. We might be playing with some semantics. I believe it is a new plat, and it's just whether or not the surveyor that would certify the plat is comfortable in certifying that without going out there and reproducing that field work. If we can we maybe push you to the end of the agenda, maybe give you a chance to go consult with the surveyor out there?
I've got 2 more, so I'll be here all day.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Pipes.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
do we even re-record have we done that before? Is that something we did?
Any amendment to a plat is, as it's requested now, re-signed, replatted, and then re-recorded in probate court as a new plat. So there's not so much of a re-recording of a document that's already been recorded. It's a new recording.
So no, we don't.
Correct.
Any further questions, comments from commissioners? I'll now ask if there's anyone in the audience that has questions for or would like to speak against or just comments on this application at 250 Tut Hill Lane and Garden Trace?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I mean, Mr. Pipes left the room, obviously. I guess my understanding is we're just trying to work towards clarifying the former easement through the middle of these properties, I guess. But the original intent was just to seek a sidewalk waiver, I guess. Is that kind of, I guess, is that my understanding or staff's understanding of the situation here?
Yes, so initially this came up a few months ago with a sidewalk waiver that was denied because the plat states that a sidewalk's required on all properties. And so their intent was to then just come in and simply remove that note. But that leads us to the plat issue of we can't just strike a note on a plat that's already been filed in probate. It has to be refiled.
And then there's not the authority, and again, there's not the authority, even though the plat says there needs to be sidewalks. UDC says there needs to be sidewalks. But this is also a private street, I guess, too, correct?
And the subdivision was previously approved before those requirements came into play.
Gotcha. So we're still dealing with the I guess, the effects of what was prior to the UDC, I guess. And there's no way to administratively or this body to overcome that obstacle of what was laid out prior to the now UDC, I guess.
Well, what's
Fixing the
before
plan.
you today is it requires that you amend that note,
Gotcha.
that note 9.
Okay.
And that needed to be brought back to this body to remedy them from that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any more on number 6? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 7. This is a modification application at 6710 Old Shell Road, the American Tower Corporation. Major modification of a previously approved planning approval allowing construction of a 150-foot tall steel monopole telecommunications tower to increase the height of the telecommunications tower from 150 feet to 172.1. For Commissioners' consideration, there would be potentially 8 findings of facts here. See the applicant, and then for you, sir, 8 conditions listed. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Michael Bentley on behalf of American Tower Corporation. My address is 188 East Capitol Street, Jackson, Mississippi. As you said, this is an application to extend the height of an existing wireless tower on the southwestern edge of the University of South Alabama campus. The extension will permit the addition of T-Mobile wireless communications antenna and equipment so that the coverage and the in-vehicle coverage on Old Shell, Cody Airport, and the campus, the USA campus, will be improved. The extension itself is 23 feet, and that brings us, because it's slightly over the 10% required for the major modification requests, that brings us here today, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
And thank you, Mr. Bentley. You
Bentley,
said?
yes.
Any comments or questions from commissioners? All right, thank you, Mr. Bentley. I'll now ask if there's anyone in the audience that is here to have questions towards this modification application, like to speak for it or would speak against it. Seeing none, we will move on.
Question for staff. Sorry. The residential buffer that is stipulated here, it's 200 feet or 150% of the tower height. Is that a lesser of, greater than?
Whichever's greater.
Whichever's greater. Okay, 'cause that's not spelled out here, so I wasn't sure. So, thank you.
Anything else from commissioners on agenda item 7? All right, seeing none, we will move on to agenda item number 8. We will have a recusal on this agenda for Mr. Harry Brislin, and we still maintain a quorum for public hearing and deliberation. This is a modification application at 560 Providence Park Drive East, the Clarence Ball Healthcare. It's a major modification of a previously approved planned unit development, amending a previously approved master plan to allow the construction of a multifamily residential building with 56 dwelling units with shared access between multiple building sites. The applicant is present. Mr. Pipes, for commissioners, hold on, Mr. Pipes, for commissioners, there would be potentially 8 findings of fact should this modification go into deliberation for consideration. And then Mr. Pipes, there are 19 listed conditions. Given that you're seated, I'm assuming you're under the, yep, Mr. Pipes gave a thumb up in agreement with the 19 listed conditions at 560 Providence Park Drive East. Any questions or comments from commissioners on this modification application? I'll ask now if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak for, speak against, or have questions towards this application of modification on a previously existing unit development. All right, seeing none, let's keep on trucking. Number 9 is a modification application at 6151 Marina Drive South, Chris Lieb, Lieb Engineering. And it has been requested to us to have a holdover of this application until the December 18th meeting with revised information due no later than December 4th to allow the applicant to provide additional information so that the commission can ensure development will comply with UDC standards. Is the applicant present? Given the applicant isn't present, we will just make a note for that on agenda item number 9. And I'll ask, since it is on the agenda, is there anyone here in the audience that has questions about it, would like to speak for it, or would like to speak against it? Okay, we will continue on. We are at agenda item number 10. This is a rezone application at 5330 Moffett Road, a rezone for a conditional use permit to allow community residents for more than 5 persons at an R1 single family R suburban district. It's also been suggested or requested for holdover until December 18th with additional information submitted no later than December 5th to allow applicant to provide site plan prepared by a registered professional illustrating compliance with the development standards of Article 3 of the UDC. Is the applicant present? Are you in agreement with the suggestion for holdover should it go into deliberation and get approved for that? The applicant is present and gave a nod of a head. Is anyone in the audience that is here to speak for, speak against, or have questions towards this rezone application that will go into deliberation for a potential holdover? Okay, I'm just making sure they weren't coming down for that. Oh, now, since there are none, we'll move on. This is number 11 on the agenda. We're now into the multi-application phase of our agenda. This is a subdivision application along with a modification at 3456 and 3500 Halls Mill Road and 2390 West I-65 Service Road South, the Radcliffe Ice Plant subdivision. It's a subdivision of 2 lots at 15 1/3 acres and a major modification of a previously approved unit development, allowing multiple buildings on a single building site to modify lot lines in coordination with the proposed subdivision to remove an undeveloped portion of the site from the previously approved PUD. On the subdivision, there are potentially 11 listed conditions. I see our applicant is present, and then for commissioners on the modification, there would be potentially 8 findings of fact, and then again, 16 conditions for the modification. Yes, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. Jay Watkins, Maynard Nexon, 11 North Water Street, Suite 24290, Mobile 36602. Mr. Chairman, we are in agreement with the conditions. We would ask on the engineering comments on page 4 of the staff report, items 1 and 2, that those be removed. I spoke with the city engineer and walked him through what we are doing here with respect to removing the flag-shaped portion of Lot 3 and combining it with the adjacent lot, or lot 2 doors over. And I believe he's in agreement with those 2 comments being removed from the report and would ask that the conditions be amended to reflect that amendment to the engineering comments.
Mr. Watkins, is that in relation to the subdivision application as well as the modification conditions? I'm reading, or is that just one or the
I think
other?
it's just the plan unit development modification.
Got it. So revision of the final PUD site plan to label the size of each lot in both square feet and acres?
No, this
Nope.
is in the comments.
Comments,
On
okay.
page 4, under
Let's
plan
get there.
unit development modification.
Ah. 1 and 2. I'll ask if staff would like to review that real quick, see if they have any concerns with his potential request.
We spoke with the applicant prior to this meeting, and we were in agreement.
There we go. Regarding subdivision or modification specific to the request just brought up by Mr. Watkins and agreed to by staff, or okayed by staff, is there any other comments or questions from commissioners on this dual application? Seeing none, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience that is here to speak for, speak against, or have questions towards the Radcliffe Ice Plant subdivision, dual application subdivision modification. All right, seeing none, we will move on. Number 12 on the agenda, also a dual application, subdivision and rezone. This is at 909 Government Street, the Donnie Manning subdivision. Subdivision of 2 lots at 0.4 acres and a rezone request from single-family residential urban, which is R1, and residential business district RB to residential business district RB. On the subdivision, there are potentially 8 conditions. On the rezoning, there are, for court commissioners, there's potentially 8 findings of fact. And then, of course, full compliance condition. Is the applicant present? Yes, sir. On the subdivision, are you in agreement with the 8 listed conditions for this application?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
We would welcome you down to the podium to make sure that as I relay these, if there's anything that grabs your attention, that you could have a conversation quickly with either us or staff. Number 1, retention of the right-of-way width of Government Street 100 feet and Church Street 50 feet on the final plat.
Yes.
Retention of the, number 2, retention of the lot size labels in square feet and acres, or provision of a table on the final plat to be in compliance with such. Retention, number 3, retention of at least 5-foot minimum front yard setback line along both street frontages. Number 4, completion of the rezoning process to eliminate the potential for split zoning prior to signing the final plat. Numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8, compliance with all engineering, traffic engineering, urban forestry, and fire. Okay, that's on your subdivision. On your rezone for conditions, that would just be full compliance with all municipal codes and ordinances.
Yeah.
And your name and record, name and address for the record.
Donnie Manning, 202 State Street, Mobile, 36603.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Mr. Manning is here in agreement with the 8 listed conditions as read out on the subdivision and the rezone. I will now, thank you, Mr. Manning. I will now ask if there's anyone here, anyone questions, comments from commissioners towards this project or this application? Given the fact that we're going from R1 to RB?
My question for the applicant is, which of the conditions were you opposed to?
I wasn't. I had read them, but
Yeah, when I asked if he wasn't,
Okay.
if he was familiar with them, he said, no, I hadn't looked at them yet. So that's why I read them off.
Okay, all right, perfect. Just making sure.
Thank you, Kenny. Mr. Nichols, I mean. Any further questions or comments from commissioners? All right, I'll now ask if there's anyone in the audience for either the subdivision application or the rezone that has questions about, to speak for, or to speak against either component of the dual application at 909 Government Street. Seeing none, we will move on. Number 13, we do have a recusal. Mr. Kenny Nichols will recuse himself. We still maintain a quorum for both public hearing and deliberation. This is a rare triple application, subdivision modification times 2 at 4568 Halls Mill Road, Covenant Academy of Mobile subdivision. Please bear with me. This is a subdivision of 2 lots at 18.8 acres. Major modification of a previously approved planning approval to allow a church, school, or daycare in an R1 single-family residential suburban district to allow expansion of that church, school, and daycare in an R1. And a major modification of a previously approved PUD, planned unit development allowing multiple buildings on a single building site with shared access and parking between two building sites to allow construction of an additional building on a multi-building site with shared access and parking between said multi-building sites. On the modification for commissioners, there's potentially 8 findings of fact for both. And on the conditions of both modifications, there would be, on the subdivision conditions, there would be 8 listed there. And on the modification conditions, there would be 8 per. Is the applicant present? The applicant is present by raise of hand. Do you need to come down and make any comments towards anything or have questions regarding conditions on all 3?
Good afternoon. I'm Melissa Hadley with Goodwin Mills in Kaywood. I think one of the things that we wanted to talk specifically about is that it does state that one of the conditions in particular for the subdivision would be a curb cut onto Nob Hill, and we are not requesting any curb cuts or access onto Nob Hill. So we'd like to strike that portion, please.
Staff, yeah, so if you check in your packets, you'll notice that staff has already struck that consideration to allow a curb cut to Nob Hill.
So that was on my pages, it's number 3. And let me go in here.
Should be number 4 is what it is currently. Currently, it reads, placement of a note on the final plat stating that the proposed lot 1A should be limited to 1 curb cut to Halls Mill Road, and proposed lot 1B should be limited to 1 curb cut to Halls Mill Road. And it previously read, and 1 curb cut to Nob Hill, and that has been struck.
Understood. Did you hear that, Ms. Hadley?
I didn't know that it had been struck. It wasn't in my packet that way. But then also on lot 2A, we do have an existing curb cut permit already, so for a second entrance onto Halls Mill. So we don't want the language to state that there would only be 1 curb cut onto Halls Mill. We already have a permit. We just aren't showing it because we're not proposing any development at this time on lot 2A. It's a little bit confusing because the numbers for the lots don't match the comments and the considerations in the packet. The way we have it on the plat, it's lot 1A and lot 2A. So lot 1A is the smaller lot that contains the proposed building. Lot 2A is the remainder. And for lot 1A, the access is going to be off of the existing driveway that's already on Halls Mill Road. Lot 2A, which is the large remainder piece that contains the rest of the existing campus, we have a permit already for an additional curb cut onto Halls Mill. We're just not proposing to do that improvement at this time, but we don't want a restriction that we can't do it in the future.
I understand. I'll ask staff if they're okay with that request.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was a requirement of the original subdivision.
You can see it's in the description for the history on the site. It does reference that existing permit and additional curb cut onto Halls Mill.
Okay, so in that case, we would probably defer to traffic engineering, given the amount of street frontage that the proposed, and I do apologize, on our plat it says 1A and 1B, but 1B, which I believe is what you're referencing, is 2A, has approximately 410 feet of linear street frontage along Halls Mill Road. So I would defer to traffic engineering.
Give you a chance to digest that.
Yep. Traffic engineering would not have an issue with a second driveway onto Halls Mill Road. We are anticipating improvements would be needed. That's why we require the traffic impact study in the first place.
Yes, sir.
So that would probably be included in the traffic impact study to have the second one added.
Thank you.
Yep.
So there we have it.
And just one other point for discussion with staff, when we do the full plans that will include the proposed parking lot and full improvements on the site, right now we're just at the PUD stage, we'll include landscape plans and things like that. We would like to consider the site as a whole when we do landscape plans and not isolate this layer. The lot has to be cut out in this way for funding purposes, except for the construction of the new building, but we still want to consider the campus as a whole when we consider landscape and master planning of driveways and things like that.
That is a situation that is not uncommon with previous plan unit development approvals, simply because that is exactly what it is, a unified development of a single building site, so to speak.
Should be okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Ms. Hadley, I'll now ask if there's any further questions, comments from commissioners for the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make clear with staff, note 4 as it reads right now, which matches with our documents of a lot 1A and a lot 1B, does say that there should be limited to 1 curb cut per each. So that, I think, addresses, even though we got a little nomenclature name different, but it is saying what you're asking for. A lot, curb cut for the lot 1A and a curb cut for the lot 1B, which I think you're saying it's lot 2 and how you submit. So 2 curb cuts in the future. Okay.
There should be 2 curb cuts on Halls Mill Road.
That's
It's
correct.
a little hard for me to follow because the numbers don't match the plat, so I don't know which lot is which that they're trying to refer to. So lot 1B,
Our note 4 says you'll end up with two curb cuts. So I think
okay,
you're good.
all right.
But
As
our
long as
note
I get
states-
that language on, so that we're clear, that lot 2A is allowed 2 curb cuts onto Halls Mill Road.
So in our notes, 2A is 1B, and you want 2 curb cuts on 1B, which is your 2A.
Yes, that's correct.
No curb cuts on 1A, which does not touch Halls Mill Road.
Right. Because it's a flag lot,
Right.
lot 1A does include access.
So are we talking
Yes,
about
I
3
see.
curb cuts?
See it?
Okay.
No, no, sir. It's 2 curb cuts on Halls Mill Road only, and no,
So
correct, and no
between-
curb
between
cut
both.
onto Nob Hill.
Yes.
Okay,
So
that's
between
what's in
both, between both, there will be 2 curb cuts on Halls Mill Road. So the plot that we received, lot 1A, was the small lot,
Yes.
and so that has a curb cut.
Lot 1A is the flag lot, right?
Yes. And then the plot that we received has lot 1B as the large lot.
Right.
And that reads that lot B will be limited to 1 curb cut. So lot 1B will also receive a curb cut on Halls Mill Road.
Right.
For a total of 2.
So that makes sense, yes, yes. We just want to
My
make sure that
apologies,
we're
I didn't see
clear
1A
and that
was
we
a
haven't
flag and
lost
came all the way
our
down.
permit.
We'll make it clear.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll now ask if there's anyone in the audience that is here to speak for, speak against, or have questions towards this project or these 3 applications. And if you do, please come down to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and ask questions or pertain comments to the commissioners.
Paul Pritchard, 1601 Regency Drive, Mobile 36693. I'm right at the corner of Nob Hill and Regency Drive. Just want to clarify, there will be no curb cut on Nob Hill. That's where, okay, all right. Just want to, I got a 5-minute speech, but we can avoid all of that. All right, thank you.
Thank goodness for clarification. Thank you, Mr. Pritchard. Yes, sir. Please come down to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and clearly speak what your question or comment might be.
My name is Jack Sahlberger. I live at 1591 Regency. That's at the corner of Nob Hill and Regency. I don't understand. Covenant Academy is 1 school, and they're going to build another building with classrooms. Why do they need 2 lots? Why do they need to subdivide it into 2 lots? That's what I don't understand.
Well, I can try. I mean, it's because of the way the project is being funded per the applicant,
Well,
which is.
that wasn't in the paper. We never saw that.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Sahlberger. I'll now is there anyone else after Mr. Sahlberger? Raise of hand. I'll now let the applicant address the question. Thank you, Ms. Hadley.
Thank you. So currently, the school actually is on 2 lots. There are 2 lots of record, 2 separate PIN numbers, property identification numbers. So what we're doing is taking away the middle line that sort of makes 2 big lots. But we do have to make 1 smaller lot that contains the new building as a requirement by the funder, the financing, where the school is getting the financing to buy to construct the additional building. So it's still part of the same PUD. It's still the same number of lots because there actually are 2 existing lots. They're just being reconfigured so that the new lot only encompasses as much as is needed for the new building, which protects the existing campus and the other buildings from any financial obligation for this new loan.
Thank you,
Does
Ms.
that make
Hadley.
sense?
It makes sense to this group. Any comments or questions from commissioners?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So basically, I guess the understanding that I've got is, in order not to, for the purpose of financing of building this building, you're going to encumber just this parcel
That's
versus
correct.
encumbering the entire assets of the church or of the school. So
Yes, sir.
Anything else from the audience? Thank you, Ms. Hadley. We will now move on to the final agenda item. We can welcome back Mr. Kenny Nichols. The final agenda item is also a triple application. It's a subdivision, a sidewalk waiver, and a rezone at 7125 Bellingrath Road. It's the addition of First Baptist Church of Theodore. Subdivision of 2 lots at just over 10 acres. Then the request to waive the construction of the sidewalk along Bellingrath Road, and then the rezone from single-family R1 to General Business District B4. For Mr. Pipes, it would be 8 listed conditions for the subdivision, sidewalk waiver for consideration, and then on the rezone for commissioners, potentially 7 findings of fact with 4 listed conditions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we're in agreement with all the conditions, but upon arriving here, I learned that staff would greatly prefer the rezoning to not be to B4, but be to B5 or CW for dimensional reasons, landscaping and setback, things like that. My client is both the seller and the potential buyer of Lot 2. Truck repair is his intended use, and so we're okay pivoting to CW. We did have a list of voluntary use restrictions that went off of the B4 menu of potential uses. We would like to review the CW chart of uses to see if we want to add some things to that. The point being, my client is the church, First Baptist Church of Theodore, which would retain its sanctuary on Lot 1. And obviously, they were concerned about what was going to get built on Lot 2 that they were creating, but they're selling off excess land, and they're okay with the truck repair use. We just needed to adequately protect the neighbors, including my co-client, who's going to have Lot 1. So we're in agreement with the findings of fact and the conditions of the rezoning and the subdivision and the sidewalk waiver, but in deference to the staff, we would be agreeable to changing the requested zoning from B4 to CW. But before it gets advertised at City Council, we might have some amendments to that chart of voluntary use restrictions, because that changes the advertising, just so it gets advertised the right way at City Council for the rezoning.
All right, so as I understand it, we're okay with subdivision. Do you want me to make any comments towards the sidewalk waiver application?
There's no sidewalk north or south, and you kind of lead to a point at Bellingrath where it would end anyway. There's also a large ditch on the south end of Lot 2 where where the only development would go is on Lot 2. So the sidewalk waiver is really on Bellingrath along Lot 2. It would truly be a sidewalk to nowhere and stay that way. So we requested a waiver.
All right, and then on this rezone, I will have a question for staff regarding the applicant's agreement and client to go from B4 to CW and have some time there. Does that mean that we need to potentially hold over the rezone and move forward with the subdivision and deliberation and the sidewalk waiver and deliberation?
Well, we did discuss this with legal counsel as well, and it is believed that the Planning Commission could approve the rezoning to CW, which is commercial warehouse, which would allow the proposed use by right, subject to the revision of the voluntary use restrictions to reflect the CW list of uses. And
So
I think
meaning
Mr. Pipes
we could move forward if so desired.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Mr. Pipes, thanks for the explanation. I guess, obviously, the finding out or the recommendation for a CW or a V2, I mean, do you see the impact if that was held over, the other things and the other things associated with the request of the subdivision and all, could that potentially cause an issue by not aligning correctly together, I guess?
Well, the subdivision would be the same regardless of what the zoning is for Lot 2. And as you can see, it's a huge lot, and they're both going to be huge lots. So, I mean, there's not going to be any impact on minimum lot size or other things. The biggest issue I see is if this were to get held up, it's just timing. You know, I think the buyer wants to move forward, the seller wants to move forward. And as long as the buyer's use for truck repair is allowed by right on Lot 2, he's okay. I think the voluntary use restrictions it's really a joint thing between the church, owner of Lot 1, and the potential buyer, owner of Lot 2. And we could review that, well before this letter of decision comes out. And, and before we pay the advertising fee, we can supplement that in a day. Okay. So I feel like we can go forward. I was okay with the staff's request to change to CW rather than proceed with B4. I just didn't want it to hold us up.
That's my concern just then, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from commissioners for the applicant? All right, thank you, Mr. Pipes. I'll now see if there's anyone in the audience that has questions towards these three applications for a subdivision, sidewalk waiver, and rezone request, which again will go from potentially R1 to CW. Any questions, comments, speak for, speak against from anyone here in the audience at 7125 Bellingrath Road? And a reminder, ma'am, if you would, please pull the microphone down a little bit and speak clearly, and then give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Mary Walker. I live 7099 Old Military Road, Theodore, Alabama. I just like to know the difference in the zoning of B4 or CW. Would you explain that?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yeah, because you're going to get to it quicker than me. Go right ahead.
Okay, the B4 zoning that was originally requested is the zoning that used to exist for downtown Mobile. So it's primarily, B4 is primarily for big city construction, so tall buildings covering the entire property. And in what we're suggesting to the applicant is that he consider a commercial warehouse, which instead of allowing a building to cover the entire property, restricts the maximum building size to only 60% of the property, requires the building to actually be set back from the street further, at least 15 feet as opposed to 0 feet, and then requires more landscaping on the property, 12% minimum versus 5% minimum. So CW has more requirements to make it fit into the area than B4 would have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name's Tangela Craig. I reside at 7463 Bellingrath Road. My question would be in regards to water retention. The ditch in which was previously stated was actually a a side reservoir, I think that ties in with all of our water flow. So with the upbuilding and having a larger constructive type of building there, that water is going to run off to the least resistant, which would hit that ditch that runs along the side. I'm further down on Bellingraph, which ties into the county, but I'm really right by what is called Mud Creek. And so I'm concerned of the overflow of flooding that we as residents would take on. And I would like to know who will maintain or kind of go in, or will the new owner of this construction be required to bring up to any additional codes that's necessary? Because we as residents within the community have concerns as we speak that is not always, properly maintained to keep debris, fallen trees, and so on and so forth throughout the community. So I have a strong concern, of where that goes, because, water's gonna slope down, and that is on the upper side of Bellingraph Road where we're going. So that's one question. And then the other one would be, I have grave concerns regarding additional heavy type of trucks or vehicles that are now coming in and out and turning. We don't have a turning curve. I know you guys are up to date. We just had a fatality just last week, like literally in the place in which this building is coming, head-on collision. So once we have a traffic flow of traffic stopping with the train coming, everything comes to a halt, both directions. And so I'm just a little nervous with now an additional place coming. Are we looking at a turning or widening of a designated turn to kind of help in this pocket? Or I know we're not looking at a traffic light, but just for safety reasons. This is the only way in and out from Bellingraph to 90 or going back the other direction. So I didn't know if anybody could help answer those questions, or if this is the legit time to inquire these questions before going forward.
So I will thank you for your questions, ma'am, and we'll see if we can get those addressed by the applicant, combination of the applicant and/or staff regarding, number one, drainage. They do have to go through drainage surveys and report those. So I do know, and we can make further comments towards that. And then I'll have to defer to the applicant on the, I guess, what would be the potential of the widening of some sort of turn-in or curb cut. So we'll see if we can get that figured out. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, as far as drainage
Yes,
on site, when they come in to develop Lot 2, when they come in for their permits, we'll require them to provide stormwater detention on site. And so they'll be holding additional water on site when it rains, and it won't be going downstream. So theoretically, the downstream conditions shouldn't change after development because of that. And they'll be required to maintain that detention pond and things.
So for that particular area, or are you saying as it goes? Because the back end, if I'm not mistaken, for that property would be our fire station, which basically will kind of, the property that's about to be obtained and built will basically donut right into the back end of our local fire station.
Right, and I'm not sure exactly how all of it drains now, so I can't say for sure, but when they come in, it depends how big their building's gonna be, where their parking's gonna be, and they'll be required to provide detention on site, whether it drains up to Bellingraph Road into the ditch there, or it drains to the south, which is naturally where it's going now. But what they'll do is they'll hold that additional runoff on site in a detention pond.
Okay.
And maintain that so that it won't all just run off downstream.
Okay. I guess I'll follow up when that time comes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we want to talk for the applicant? Do we want to have any discussion on the turn-in?
As you're southbound on Bellingraph, there's sort of a center turn lane that turns into the driveway you can see on the aerial, and then the road narrows down to just a two-lane road, without the center turn lane. We don't have a proposal for widening Bellingraph Road or for for adding anything. I would say that, putting one business in on this big of a piece of land, it's got to be a ton less traffic than what the R1 development, of this same land would have been if you were to put a subdivision in there, and certainly a lot less intensive from a stormwater, impact perspective. But we've not run a traffic study, for a one business, commercial facility for this big of a piece of land. But I would think that its impact would have to pale in comparison to the current zoning's development.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pipes. I'll ask if there's anyone else in the audience that is here to speak for, speak against, or have questions towards this application, subdivision, sidewalk waiver, and rezone. All right, seeing none, we will now close the public hearing and move back to number 1 on the agenda for deliberation. First one is 4595 Commerce Boulevard South and 6137 Todd Acres Drive, subdivision of five lots. The applicant is present, Mr. Tischer, and in agreement with the 7 listed conditions.
Motion to approve, subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for subdivision passes. Number 2, again, a holdover, 5070 Old Shell Road, cottages at Spring Hill. It was held over from October. If memory serves correctly, we had some questions from commissioners regarding specific items on this application. So at that time, it was deemed to go down the path of potential declination of the application or potential holdover. And now the applicant, given the nature of this, is requesting a holdover until December 18th meeting. Any comments or questions from commissioners? Entertain a motion.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded for holdover. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have 1 opposition. The ayes have it, so we will allow for a holdover on this application. New agenda items, number 3 on the agenda, also requested for a holdover to December 18th at 5906 US Highway 90 West, extending to the north terminus. Move to approve. It's properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion for the holdover to December 18th passes. Number 4, 1608 Crestwood Drive subdivision, 2 lots, 1.05 acres. The applicant is present and in agreement with the 9 listed conditions. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for subdivision passes. Number 5, subdivision at 1615 and 1622 Mackey Avenue, subdivision of 2 lots of 1.81 acres. The applicant is present and had 9 listed conditions that were, I believe, in agreement, but we did have some discussion regarding number 2, specific to the cul-de-sac, from Mr. Kaufman. I do think that was since resolved, and we get a shake of the head, and I don't see Mr. Kaufman to get his, oh, there he is. You got a nod of yes, sir? Got it figured out? Okay, great. Move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion for subdivision passes. Number 6, it's a subdivision at 250 Tut Hill Lane and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 Garden Trace. Mr. Pipes, applicant, had questions regarding the plat and the conditions. I'll see where we land from a combination of staff and commissioner input on this.
Mr. Chairman, after consulting with a surveyor, we believe there's an extinguishment document that can be prepared that will address the concerns, so they won't have to record a new plat, but their document will reference the existing plat, and they can make the changes on a subsequent document. So we believe we got a path forward. I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for subdivision passes. Number 7, this is a modification, 6710 Old Shell Road, increase in the height of the monopole telecommunications tower from 150 to 172.1. The applicant is present, addressed the findings of fact and in agreement with the 8 listed conditions. Any questions or comments or discussion among commissioners? I know Kenny, Mr. Nichols, you had a question regarding residential buffer. Did you get that addressed?
Yeah, staff answered that question. Thank you.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations of findings of fact A through H.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded with findings of fact A through H. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
We have one in opposition. The ayes have it. Number 8, we will have a recusal for Mr. Harry Brislin. We still maintain a quorum for the deliberation. This is a modification at 560 Providence Park Drive East. Clarence Ball Healthcare. The applicant is present and in agreement with the 19 listed conditions.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
One thing that staff discussed with the engineer on the project, Mr. Fulmer, was number 12. And I'm not sure if that's something that has been discussed with the applicant. As of right now, it reads provision of a note on the final PUD site plan stating any dumpster placed on the property will comply with the placement and enclosure standards, et cetera, of the applicable regulations. In reviewing the land disturbance permit for this project, it was noticed that the actual dumpster enclosure itself did not meet those placement standards. Rather than have them revise the plan at this time, we would ask that we can amend that note to include a statement that they could also get a variance, or be that the caveat. So simply adding at the end of that, approval basically of the, or provision of the note, which requires the compliance with the dumpster provisions, or approval of a variance. And that would keep them, or that would allow them to move forward with this particular application and this particular layout.
And again, that's number 12 on the conditions for agenda item number 8, modification. Is the applicant still present? Are you good? Got a thumbs up from Mr. Pipes. Thank you. The applicant was present and in agreement with the modified condition 12 per staff. Entertain a motion.
Moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion for modification passes. We'll welcome back Mr. Harry Brislin. Number 9, 6151 Marina Drive South, major modification application requested for holdover December 18th. And I'll move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for holdover to December 18th passes. Number 10, rezone 5330 Moffett Road, requested for a holdover until December 18th. Move to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for holdover on rezone passes. Number 11, dual application, subdivision and modification at 3456 and 3500 Halls Mill Road and 2390 West I-65 Service Road South, Ice Plant Subdivision. The applicant was present and in agreement, Mr. Watkins, on the 11 listing conditions for the subdivision and the modification for commissioners, potentially 8 findings of fact, and again, 16 listed conditions for the modification.
To approve subject to staff recommendation with the 8 findings of fact, removing items number 1 and 2 from the PUD modification list.
This is on the subdivision, correct?
Whoops, I did both at once. So subdivision, move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, I believe it was also removing notes number 1 and 2 from the staff report.
No, that's just from the modification.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
We have a motion. Need a second.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded on the subdivision. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for subdivision passes. Now, Mr. Anderson.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendation with the 8 findings of fact, removing items number 1 and 2 from the PUD modification list.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded with the removal of 1 and 2 and 8 findings of fact A through H. Entertain a motion. Nope, that was this first. Need a second.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for the modification on that agenda item passes. Number 12, dual application, subdivision and rezone at 909 Government Street. Donnie Manning subdivision. Mr. Manning himself is here in agreement with the 8 listed conditions on the subdivision and on the rezone. Understood the compliance and the findings of fact.
For the subdivision, move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion for subdivision passes. On the rezone, this is a rezone from R1 to RB, Residential Business District.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Believe we need the findings of facts.
We need-
A, B,
Oh,
C, D,
A through
E,
G.
F, and G.
Yes, thanks.
7 of them. All 7?
Yes.
Amended motion for findings, move to approve with findings of fact A through G.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion for the rezone passes. Number 13, triple application subdivision and 2 modifications at 4568 Halls Mill Road. We will have a recusal. Mr. Kenny Nichols, we still maintain a quorum for this deliberation and vote. On the subdivision, the applicant is present and is in agreement with the 8 listed conditions.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for subdivision passes. We'll take, question for staff, 1 or 2 votes for the modification applications? Would you prefer?
2 separate votes.
Thank you. First, modification. Potential findings of fact and 8 listed conditions on that modification. Should be notes on number 4, specific to curb cuts on Halls Mill, limited to 2 total curb cuts per the conditions. And that was understood by the applicant, Ms. Hadley. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve, subject to staff recommendations adopting findings of facts A through H.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for that modification for the planning approval passes. Modification of the planned unit development.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations adopting finding of facts A through H.
Properly moved and seconded with findings of fact A through H. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion for that modification passes. Number 14, final agenda item for today. It's a triple application of subdivision, sidewalk waiver, and rezone request. The subdivision is in agreement on the 8 listed conditions from the applicant. On the sidewalk waiver, we heard the commentary from the applicant. And on the rezone, for our notes, it's actually going to be as agreed upon between staff and the applicant to go from R1 to CW. And there was some commentary regarding special use restrictions on that rezone prior to city council meeting. So we'll take the subdivision first. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes for subdivision. Sidewalk waiver. In rendering a decision, we should evaluate our factors and comments from staff.
Move to approve the waiver.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded to approve the sidewalk waiver. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
We have an opposition vote, but the ayes still have it. And finally, the rezone R1 to CW, potentially 7 findings of fact, 4 listed conditions.
So I have a question. What's the nearest similar designation, whether it's warehouse or B4? Because the zoning map that we have, it looks like, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the Flume map. The zoning map looks like it's all residential as far as the eye could see there.
That is correct, but next to the site is an I2 zoning district. That's heavy industry. So in the staff report, there is some I1 that is off of Cary Hamilton and Burroughs Lane. And then once you get beyond that, probably the nearest B4 zoning district is going to be on Broad Street, downtown. CW, commercial warehouse, is a relatively new zoning district, so there aren't that many examples nearby. But that's probably the few that exist might be around I-65 and Cottage Hill area. But it would be more compatible in terms of the site design requirements in this area, which is more suburban than would be B4.
I guess just for commentary, I would point out that the uses immediately across Bellingrath Road from this, while currently zoned R1, certainly not an R1 use.
Yes, this area will contain or does contain many non-conforming uses based upon annexation.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
And just for clarification, this came in as part of the 2009 annexation, I believe. Is that?
That's correct.
So we have that those items figured out, I guess we should say, for the rezone. Any further questions or comments? All right, entertain a motion.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations, but changing from B4 to CW and adopting findings of facts A through G.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded with findings of fact A through G. Is that what I heard correctly? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I was going to ask you a question. So based on the motion, do we need to do anything with regard to the voluntary use restrictions that are going to, do we need to make any provision for that, or is that just something we're going to pass off to the city council, which I'm comfortable with, by the way?
Well, what we would do is the associated voluntary conditions and use restrictions revised for the CW district.
Okay, so so just saying CW, as we just did in that motion, is sufficient for that? Do we feel like that's enough? Because we didn't say anything about the voluntary use restrictions.
Would we consider the fact that the rezoning to CW instead of B4 as a recommendation, then would we need to amend condition number 2 to specifically say revised for a commercial warehouse? So condition number 2 for the rezoning says compliance with the associated voluntary conditions and use restrictions. Do we need to say as revised for CW? Okay, yes. So that is the answer.
Got it, thanks.
We did already vote on it. And the motion has passed for the rezone. I'm glad we got the concerns addressed. That concludes the agenda items for today, November 20th. We have one other business item. Those in the audience don't need to stick around. It is the review of the minutes from the following Planning Commission meetings: September 19th, October 17th, November 21st, and December 19th of 2024. Move to approve in a batch. Probably moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Those business meeting minutes pass. Before we wrap up, just take a moment to express my appreciation for all of you. Happy Thanksgiving week with your friends and family next week, and we'll